Hi, I'm online, you're online, let's chat. I had the inspiration for all my previous videos coming from this very core, which is French girl aesthetic on the internet and most importantly on Instagram and YouTube. So the idea that there is this entire industry of influencer marketing around this image that people have of France, but most importantly, Parisian chic. As somebody who's been living in Paris since the start of this year, I have some reflection to make about what it actually means to be living in Paris and what actual French girl / Parisian chic is. Before we get into it, thank you so much for finding my video along all the other content here on YouTube. Don't forget to like the video if you liked what I said, or if you disagreed with what I said, don't hesitate to comment. And without further ado, let's get into this very big, vast rabbit hole of a subject that is French girl, Parisian chic. Let's just start off by really getting our language straight, because Parisian chic and French girl is not the same thing. Paris is the capital city of France, but France is actually quite a big country. It's one of the biggest countries on the European continent, if we do not count Russia's Eurasia part as well. And Paris is a very, very big city and has a large population, but is also very multicultural. Yet the image that we have of Parisian chic is very much set in a couple of clear ideals. Now, what I found is that there is quite a discrepancy between the actual French influencers and French girl aesthetic influencers. Because what you see is that a lot of the content around French girl aesthetic is not actually from French girls or from French people. Instead, you see a lot of it coming from Anglo-Saxon countries, the United Kingdom and the United States, but also Eastern Europe and Asia. So let's start off with the main points, which is where you will take your pictures. Of course, Parisian chic wouldn't be taken anywhere else than cafes, sipping a chocolate milk or a espresso at a terrace, preferably front row seat by the street. Also going to go to markets. Now, not the real markets where people buy the actual produce, but these adorable, very aesthetic, made for Instagram. Okay, I'm being way too sarcastic here. I'm starting to get a little mean. I don't mean to be. It's just that to me, this is such a, it's so comedic to me because it is so set apart from what the reality is of Paris. But then there is also the art museum, which is actually quite true. French people like to go to museums. We have very rich culture and we have a very well-funded museum structure. I mean, under the age of 26, most public museums, if not almost all of them, are free. And people actually go to museums after work in what we call the nocturne, which is when a museum is open till late, with the purpose for people who are working 9 to 5 to be able to go to museums, plays, the cinema, musical theaters a little less, but that is most definitely part of French culture, so they do get that part right. Then you have also the reading books. That is usually associated with the cafe, but sometimes also very impractically just posing with a book. Yes, all of that together, I would say pretty much covers about 70% of locations where people make Parisian chic content. But one thing a French person will never do is sit front row in a cafe. And I can make an entire separate video on why that is. Actually, let me know, would you like me to make a video on reality, on how tourists versus how French people behave in different public places in France, most specifically Paris? Let me know in the comments. One of the first things that came to mind as to where this aesthetic came from, I think honestly comes from American television, and most specifically two main shows, starting off with Gossip Girl, Blair Waldorf. I mean, I grew up with that show as well, and Blair Waldorf idolized Paris and idolized big icons in French culture. I mean, let's think of Grace Kelly, let's think of Audrey Hepburn. There's also this emphasis on this post-war femininity, the new look from Dior. Another show is an obvious but very impactful on the city, Emily in Paris. Now, even though the style of Emily in the show has been criticized from all ends of the pond, I would say that the elements of what I'm about to mention are very much there. Post-edit me here, I thought I should also give credit to some other shows that have really made Paris the place of dreams, such as Sex and the City, obviously when Carrie goes to Paris. Another great example is the early 2000s obsession with Paris in the fashion magazine context, such as in The Devil Wears Prada. Let's have a look at what these French aesthetic, Parisian chic influencers usually wear when they come visit Paris, because I know they don't live here, and if they do, they probably don't dress like this outside of their content. Tweed. When I walk through the streets of Paris, for whatever reason, I can identify a tourist based on really clear things. Socks and sandals might be one of them. But actually in Paris, it's the girlies that walk around in tweed jacket and skirt sets that really set them apart as tourists. Famously produced by the fashion house Chanel, of course, very well known for these tweed skirt and jacket combinations. But I would say that I have never seen a French woman, a Parisian woman, since my time here, ever wear an actual set like that. I think that is truly something that is associated with Parisian chic abroad, but definitely not here in Paris. Actually, let's add on to that anything luxury branded items. So I'm thinking bags and shoes mainly, but the Chanel bags, the Loewe bags, the Dior, Lady Dior. French women don't necessarily want to be walking around with something that expensive and so clearly, loudly so. You think of the big French brands like Rouge and Cézanne, like we mentioned in the last two videos, or others. I would argue that it is far more common to see a Polène bag, and if she is carrying a luxury bag, it is a vintage one that her mother, her grandmother have passed on to her. She will never buy it new. The Birkin, I would argue, yes, I have seen some Birkins, but the way that Jane Birkin would wear them is how I see French women wear them here. So with a pair of jeans and a cute little rouge top, and the Birkin is not new, she is used. She is actually used as a bag and not just simply as a status symbol. How did I forget stilettos in Paris? Don't wear stilettos. Nobody wears stilettos. Come to Paris, try and walk in stilettos. That's all I'm gonna say. And how the heck could I forget the freaking beret? Honestly, nobody in Paris or in France, unless you're in the real rural countryside and you're like a male farmer over the age of 60, wears a beret. Absolutely nobody. Bye. All of this to say what? I don't want to make this video to bash influencers who sell this aspirational life under the guise of the city of Paris. You know, you do you. But it's just that when I see like on Instagram or on YouTube or on TikTok, girls, especially young ones, saying like, oh, I need a tweed jacket, I need a tweed skirt, I need a Chanel bag, and I need a bow in my hair or a headband in order to fit in with this aesthetic, I want to say no, you really don't. Because let's actually cover what actual Parisian chic is since I moved here. Very few colors, I've got to say. It's a lot of grays, a lot of blacks, a lot of earthy tones. The blue jean, not the washed out, ribbed, as simple as possible, but as flattering. You want a pair of jeans that fits your morphology. No, is that even an English word? What is morphologie? What is morphologie? Morphologie. Your body shape? You want a blue jean that matches your body shape, and you want to invest in that in a light color, in a dark color, and in a white. Flowy blouses, again, this is where rouge comes in, which they got right. Then you have non-branded bags and shoes, as we previously mentioned, and the post-war feminine 1950s dress. All of this to say that the Parisian chic aesthetic on Instagram is not real. The Parisian aesthetic on TikTok is not real. On Pinterest, it's not real. The content, they're always drinking coffee and they're just throwing a whole croissant in there. By the way, that is not how you eat croissant. Anyway, all of this to say, I hope you liked this video. Let me know if I've missed something critical to you. What do you think about social media, French girl, Parisian chic content? And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.